Says decades, he means decades. Thank you all. The three of you, incredible words, which is why I'm going to try to be brief. But Congressman Torres referred to me as an elder statesman, and it's true. I'm a little older than some of you here. But I have a lot of things I remember as a result. Now, there probably aren't too many people in the room who remember the Six-Day War. Sadly, I have a vivid recollection of it. And I remember I was probably about the same age as most of you here. And what I remember was reading in social studies class in particular that the armies of Egypt and Syria and Jordan, they were massing on the borders of Israel. And how proud I was when in 6 days that war ended in an amazing victory. But we also remember the 1973 war, and the list goes on and on. The fights that Israel has to fight on such a frequent basis, the intifadas. So when October 7th happened, to many people, it was more of the same, but it wasn't more of the same, because as we know, that was the worst attack on Jews in, I guess, the lifetimes of everybody in this room. And it was essentially unprecedented. Last week, I was on the subway, and before I got on the subway, I had these two pins on. One, I don't know if you can see, one's a pin of the American and Israeli flags, the other is a hostage pin, which I know some of you are wearing. And as I got on, for maybe a nanosecond, I said, should I wear this on the subway? And of course I said, yes, I will. But the fact that I even had to think about that, it's never been like that for me ever, because I grew up at a time when I think most Jewish people felt safe. I certainly never felt unsafe. I don't think I've been at the receiving end of Jew hatred, at least not overt Jew hatred, in my life. But everything has been different since October 7th. And what I try to do, and I know maybe it's easier for some people than others, maybe it's easier for an adult than for a student, but here's my philosophy in life. I never back down, I never give in, I never give up, and I never cross the street. And what that means is if I see something that may be threatening, and maybe it's not smart on my part, but I won't cross the street. In fact, it makes me all the more determined. And sometimes you think something is threatening and it really isn't, but sometimes it is. But as Jewish people, we can't afford to back down, because once you do that, you will be steamrolled. I think we know there are certain facts out there. And I do remember when the move to equate Zionism with racism, which we know is such an outrageous lie. But one thing we can equate is anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism. There is no two ways about it. I know there are so many people who say, oh, I'm not against Jews, I'm just against Israel, or I don't like the prime minister, or whatever. No, if you don't believe in the right of the Jewish people to have one country in the entire planet, on the entire planet that has a Jewish majority, then in my opinion, you're anti-Jewish. And for people to deny that is just not correct. I have a handful of colleagues in the state legislature, and thankfully it's just a handful of colleagues, who are pushing legislation called the Not on My Dime Act. And it's mostly meant as an organizing tool for anti-Israel, anti-Jewish people, elected officials, organizations. But the fact that there is such legislation in the first place, I think, is another indication that we have to stand tall and remain stronger than ever. You can't back down from any of these fights, because if you do, then we've lost immediately. So I just want to say, you're just starting out. Whether we are, no matter what denomination, no matter whether we're observant, secular, it doesn't matter. I think we collectively have to stand up together as Jewish people, and not just Jewish people, but all people, and say that we believe in the Jewish state, that we will fight anti-Semitism, we will never give in to it, we will never back down from fighting on it, and as long as we do that, we're going to continue. I mean, the history lesson about 3,000 years, same place, same language, same customs. The idea that anybody would suggest that the Jewish people in Israel are colonizers, can you imagine that? Is so outrageous, but this is the propaganda that spread, this is the propaganda that many people believe, and it's the propaganda we have to fight. And like many of you, I've been observing carefully what's been going on, not only around college campuses, but particularly on the campuses. And I don't envy young Jewish people who are going to be going to college, but the behavior, the statements, I never thought I would see any of this in my lifetime, because I hadn't seen any of this in my lifetime. And the fact that this is happening now, I think, should make it very clear to us that we have a long fight ahead of us, but we're going to win that fight, and hopefully everybody will understand. So again, I mean, listen, you're the future. I know that the world will be in great hands with all of you, and I just want to say thank you to all of you. Thank you, Rabbi. You're also welcome. Thank you. Thank you.